All right, guys, good morning. Second day here of March, almost 9:30. Welcome to Storm Talk. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. We have a lot to cover for just 1 day period coming up for tomorrow. I'm going to go through all the mapping on that. Let me be clear about saying today is actually going to be a nice, calm day, although not as beautiful or as warm as yesterday, but still decent, even if it is mainly overcast outside. I don't think anyone's going to complain too much after 83 degrees was reached yesterday. All right, I hope you guys had a decent evening. I know we had the hail that did pop up last night, covered the ground in many spots out there, produced several warnings, actually, that came out for just that narrow 90-minute window. The atmosphere, again, flipping over like a pancake there to allow that moisture to surge in, and we saw the end result. So the modeling actually did pretty decent on nailing how that would all play out, and even its short duration of moving in and moving out. So that's out of here. We're racing that off to the side. Now we're going to focus on what's coming our way for tomorrow. As we do so, make sure that you are aware that you have the ability to ask any question you want or comment or a shout out or anything like that on our social media pages, YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. There's Joyce. Good morning, Elizabeth. Hope you're doing well, Elizabeth. My voice is cracked. Sorry. I just hit 18 the other day. It happens. Michael. Yes, I am worried as well with the leaves that have been trying to bud out of the trees here as of late and any cold weather down the road. Unfortunately, today I'm not going to be able to get into all the details. Thanks, Angela. I'm glad everything was okay in Spencer. I saw a little bit of hail not far from Mount Washington, so I was wondering about you guys. But I don't, unfortunately, I'm not going to have a lot of time to talk about the colder side of this. I got to wait until next week. There's just too much to get to for tomorrow. So let me get into the maps. And again, if you have any questions, let me know. But please help me out and try to give me the opportunity to get through as many maps as I can. And then if you have questions, and I didn't answer any of them, and I'm sure I won't, then ask away. That way I don't duplicate too much of what you're trying to ask there, okay? I hope that's a fair ordeal. Let me start with the outlooks as they stand for today. We're fine. Tomorrow is a slight risk that has been moved back north. I do not think that is done, and I do not think it is done with the category. I'll explain coming up, and then Saturday, it's back to a colder setup. So this is all about Friday. So at the moment, we're quiet. Just to recap today's outlook real quick, in case you're just tuning in, want to know about the game plan for this Thursday. Again, overcast, cool, 40s and 50s, even at 37 right now as you head into areas of Indiana. Cloud cover, I just don't think it's going to go anywhere today. This is a classic setup that it's got to thin out basically to improve, and that's going to be tough today. So despite that, still temperatures will make it close to 60 at least. That's good. All right, so let me show you the wind alerts. First off, wind advisories are out in the brown shade, and that covers just about everyone in the Ohio and Tennessee Valley down to the Gulf of Mexico, and even the high wind warning that is out in southeast Kentucky for the higher elevations into the mountains. There is a decent chance that there will be a high wind warning issued for central Kentucky and northern middle Tennessee, based on some of the numbers I'll show you in just a second. This low pressure, as it moves across areas of Arkansas and into Illinois, is going to be one of the deeper low pressures that we've had travel through the area in March. It's not a record breaker or anything like that, but it is certainly makes it on the list to be a notable system, at least. And the track and the data since last night, especially, and even this morning, nearly excellent agreement on the path, taking it, the center of it, right across just south of Carbondale, Illinois, near Evansville to about North Vernon, and then into Ohio. That puts the majority of you that are watching on the southern side of that track. And remember what I referred to as the box or the warm sector that will form, and you don't want to be in the northwest corner of the American flag there when that low path goes by. And unfortunately, based on the way this is trending, some of you will be in that corner. So that is my concern. So let me show you the outlooks first, then we'll get into some of the details. This is the outlook today. Even on moderate risk of severe weather in the Arklatex area of the country, that's pretty significant. Big ordeal for them, and it's going to be busy. National coverage will be on this today. I'm sure they'll mention about our threat tomorrow, but a lot of national outlets will be focused on what's happening there. Tomorrow, there's the slight risk, and it covers basically that boxed, you can't see my pen, but you get the idea, that boxed warm sector. And again, it's that northwest corner that puts us in a zone of concern. There is the chance to get this to go to the next level up, which on the scale would be enhanced. And from what I've seen so far, I don't know how we're going to escape getting enhanced coming out. I don't know if it would include a lot of us, but getting one in that zone outlooked somewhere in this slide is going to be hard to avoid at the moment anyway, because the trends are just getting more and more aggressive here. The tornado potential is certainly on the chart. This too could go up as we get into tomorrow, just because, again, of the parameters that we're facing in the quadrant. And then as we hit into the strong damage wind potential, hold on. So I got a spammer here. Let me get rid of them real quick. Sorry about that. It's a Thursday. Why are you spamming on a Thursday? Anyway, your damage wind potential. This is a bit tough because this is based on thunderstorms and their wind potential. But in some cases, actually, many cases, a lot of you that will face some of the stronger winds out of the system will not be in a thunderstorm. It'll be actually after the thunderstorm. And you may even get it with sunshine again, kind of like we had on Monday. So this is a separate issue. I hope you can see that. The wind advisories and the high wind warning covers that threat. This covers the wind potential in a thunderstorm. So there are two separate things. But as far as strength goes, I mean, they're going to be basically the same. They just, one is a little more up and down and can last over a few hours, and the other is sudden and last only in some cases minutes, and then it's over. So sometimes they can cause more damage, especially when it comes to a tree, when it's not moving terribly strong, and then suddenly it's got the force going crazy on it. So sometimes these can cause more damage. But either way, it is going to be very windy tomorrow. Your hail potential, not listed. Can't rule out hail, but the reason why it's not as elevated as even last night is we're not in the 80s tomorrow. You get into a summertime setup like yesterday, you build up all that warmth and you build in that moisture level that we did with a dry atmosphere being flipped, you end up with a lot of hail. So hail was the main concern the entire time yesterday, everything that formed. Tomorrow, it's a different ballgame. This is all about wind, not so much hail. All right, so here is FUTURECAST, and this is going to give you an idea on timing. So pay attention to your location on the map and where you're at in relation to, say, Louisville's right in the middle, and note the clock. This is the warm front that is approaching tonight. Some areas will see rain before midnight. Whoops, why did I just move all that? Sorry about that. This is the rain that will likely move in before midnight. With the warm front. This could have some pea-sized hail with it, some gusty winds, very heavy rainfall, but your ability to get anything right now that looks alarming on severe is relatively small. There are a couple cells, the very southern edge of that as we head toward mid-morning that we may have to watch as the warmer air tries to push in. Because look at the temperatures. And we got 30s to the north, and then you got the 60-degree line trying to push into our southern counties here. So now we're entering into that box, if you will, the warm sector. And that would happen again about mid-morning on Friday. Now we're going to get into the more challenging part of the forecast. This is going to advance. Let me get you to about 11 to 12. This says 1:30, but 11 to 12 is when we will likely have the low pressure itself right over areas of Evansville. The warm front will be stretched out near Carrollton to the north, and your cold front portion anyway is going to be right along I-65. Look at the actual shape that is emerging across central Kentucky. And again, a lot of the high-risk data is very much in agreement on this placement. So you got 60s here in Louisville, almost 70 to the southeast of Louisville, 40s into Indiana. If you're in the 40s, we're not concerned about severe weather for you guys. So at the moment, if you are north of Salem, Bedford, Indiana, Seymour, North Vernon, odds are much more in your favor that you're dealing with heavy rain and strong winds in general, but your severe thunderstorm risk may get significantly reduced compared to even counties along the river, Clark County, Floyd, even Louisville, and it's certainly down into central Kentucky. But look at the shape of the warm sector. And again, this is our concern, is going to be the box portion here of the northwest corner of it. And I know Louisville is right there in it. This is when we will be approaching the lunch hour tomorrow. It'll be quite windy, to be warm. Any of these cells that move in from the west will try to do their best to move through the area and produce severe weather, but they move in and they move out rapidly. We're giving it a window, and I'll show you that in a minute, of roughly about 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. of the most concern for a lot of us to be in that boxed area. Looks to be 11 to 3. We may have to adjust that earlier or later, depending on how much of a size that the actual shape of the box will end up being once we get into it. But that's the way it's looking right now. Obviously, there are some issues that if the low is tracking more south than expected, I'm talking just one row of counties, that moves the entire boxed sector into Kentucky, would take Louisville out of it and certainly Indiana out of it. So there is still some wiggle room here at the moment, but so far, just about everything is lining up for the path to be just northwest of the city. And that would put a good chunk of areas along and south of the river into that zone. But here's the problem, and this looks like it's nothing, right? But this is the concern, is after the storms move by, we will then enter a dry punch of air. Dew points will crash rapidly. The sun's going to try to come out. And at that point, we then enter the same scenario that we did Monday. Now we're dealing with partly sunny skies and very strong wind gusts. And for some of you, the strongest of the entire event would happen at this point when we go partly sunny. It's that mixing again of the dry air that will take place once we get past the squall line. So there's two different things we're going to be focused on during the lunch hour through about mid-afternoon tomorrow that will be very different on how we get to those elements, but as far as impact, nearly the same. Once that happens, we cloud back up again. The wind will begin to slowly but surely get back within its guidelines, if you will, calm down, and even Indianapolis could go to snow. I don't see that happening here, although some of you in North Vernon and Seymour may get awful close to seeing maybe some flakes mixing in Friday night and early Saturday. That would not surprise me, but that's a minor issue compared to everything else. All right, so that's just a snapshot of the FUTURECAST and the time of it. Now I'm about to show you some of the modeling. Now I want to make sure you guys understand what I'm about to say and make sure that we're on the same page, same agreement here. What we normally do here on the blog is show you details that we can't show on TV because it takes too much time to flash it up and not be able to explain it. So I'm going to show you the following data, and some of what I'm about to show you is a bit concerning. As I show you this, I'm going to explain it, what you need to worry about, not what you need to worry about, and location, and I'll answer any questions you got. But I don't want you guys to get overly concerned as far as that I'm trying to say that things are the end of the world's coming or anything like that. I just want to be as transparent as I can with the data so that you guys understand why we are going to talk about this so much, and we'll be talking about it a lot more into the hours ahead of us. Okay, does that make sense? Type 1. Make sure I get it confirmed. Type 1 if you guys are cool so far on the overall setup and are ready now to see some of the other data, because I want to make sure everyone's cool and I don't want to make anyone nervous. I promise I don't want to do that, because I get it. It can be scary. These scenarios can be. I understand completely. All right, everyone seems good? Good. All right, here we go. The first round of data I'm going to show you is the tornado potential. Now, this is what we call a parameter that the modeling will use to determine whether or not you can get a tornado potential. And obviously, if you get higher into that scale, the more into the tornado scale you can actually get. This is not always a slam dunk, but it is a good tool to give us an idea if we see a zone that expands and intensifies, or expands, shrinks, and disappears. I mean, there's different scenarios that can play out here. What is interesting about what I'm going to show here is that you really will see the warm sector begin to push in. The box will form. And this is about 11:30 in the morning. We start to enter into that zone along the parkways especially. It starts to show up on the scale. We get to roughly 1:30 in the afternoon. And again, this is a time we got to really watch at 1:30, give or take an hour. But you can see the scale now starts to go up, especially along I-65. Notice the sharp cutoff, though, on that potential once you get north of the city. But for right there on that line there, it's South and Central Kentucky, that's the zone to watch. You can see why now that track of the low is so important, that any shifting would make a big difference north and south. What is interesting is, yes, it goes up in scale, but it's not done. It gets even more up in scale for areas of I-75 and around Lexington and Eastern Kentucky. This, just taking it aside alone, would argue for an enhanced risk scenario, another level on the SBC outlook to be drawn. And again, I would think 65 East would probably fit that, more likely though I-75. But you notice the trend there. It started off small, the box formed, and then really expanded right up to in Louisville and 65, and then rapidly continued east, because now we're at 230 and it's already out of the I-65 corridor. This is one of the parameters we look at. There's another way we can do this, is by looking at any cells that have that potential to begin to show signs that they could show some rotation. And the modeling actually can sniff this out. It's not always exact, but boy, it's done well, more than a lot of other modeling parameters we've looked at. And it does signify, anyway, that there are a few cells that will be in that line, especially, again, in that 1 to 2 o'clock window that keeps showing up. Again, it's showing Jefferson County. It may not be Jefferson County. It may be Bullitt County. It could be E-Town. We don't know. But it does tell me that there could be 1 or 2 of these that could actually have the ability to certainly produce a tornado. Now, the danger with this is that these are going to be the type of rotations, or even the tornado potential with this, that they're going to be embedded in this line here. They're going to be very difficult to track. Weather Service has got a very tough job for their duties, because their goal is obviously to get lead time out on any tornado warning they would have to issue. But they're going to be moving so fast that the radar is going to try to signal as much as it can that something may be forming. So we may have several tornado warnings get issued. Doesn't necessarily mean that a tornado will form or has formed. There may be a lot of precautionary steps being done tomorrow to be extra cautious, and those warnings could come out. So I'm not saying there will be tornadoes, but I am saying that the environment certainly does support them for tomorrow. So we need to watch that. They move out, and then we see the tracks fade out. All right, so that's the just tornado potential side of things. And that in itself is going to keep us busy. This is not a supercell type of thing that we'd had like, well, March 2nd of 2012, individual cells, which can form tornadoes, and they can go across the entire state for hours on end. These are more embedded into a line. They still can cause problems, don't get me wrong, but they can develop. they can get absorbed back into the front of the storm again, and then you develop another one. It's an off and on nature that will likely be the case. But given how strong the wind fields are aloft, you just don't want to play around with this one. You just want to make sure you have your safety plan ready just in case. I know there's going to be a lot of nervous folks tomorrow. And again, I'm not trying to make anyone nervous. I know everyone's going to be nervous about their kids and everything. Kids are, in many cases, are going to be safer being in the school. I just don't want to get in too close to that 220 time. All right. I want to keep it to where they're away from any type of issues with schools whatsoever. And hopefully that will be the case, and we'll keep them safe in the school there. But I promise you, we're going to have more updates on this as we get into time. All right. Now, let me switch gears for just a moment and talk about the general wind, like Monday's wind. That will start tonight with the warm front. It'll be gusty at times. You see some of the strong wind gusts that show up. And then you get into the warm sector. And this is where you really see the wind ramping up here into the warm sector. Some of this is going to be whoops. I don't know why I keep doing that. Sorry. Some of this is going to be thunderstorm related. Now look at the track of the low, almost like an eye of a hurricane. It's nearly calm. You can easily see the path that low will take right across Indiana. Strong winds north of it, very strong to the south of it, but again, right along its path, not much. So kind of an odd scenario. But you see the wind ramping up at 12:30. Now I'm going to advance it to 1 p.m. I know, because Tawana Andrews did the same thing when this popped in. It is showing an 85 miles per hour into Litchfield. Now, for those of you in Grayson County, I know I am not saying 85 miles per hour is coming for you guys. What this tells me is that some of the wind potential, because the line is moving so fast, you can get wind gusts that could go over 70, yes, and can cause some damage. That is concerning to see. I'm not going to downplay it. You don't want to see those kind of values. And to be honest, I don't think I've seen those kind of values just in a wind forecast map in quite some time. So these thunderstorms will have a kick to them, but these are still the thunderstorm-related winds that we're referring to. Then after it passes by, now we get into the partly sunny setup into the afternoon. But notice the wind is still quite strong across central Kentucky. This is still thunderstorm-related wind, 60 miles per hour to the south. And there again is your low path still taking place there across Indiana to the north. I think, see, I have one more. Yeah, one more wind or one more rainfall graphic and a timing. Then I'll get to your questions. See your reaction. I'm sorry, guys. I promise I'm not trying to make you nervous. I'm trying to just point out everything. All right, so here is the rainfall. This is the other side story, is the rainfall potential of 3 to 4, maybe 5 inches of rain. That looks to be where the low path is. This is the downside to being at the center of the low, because your threat would be the higher rain totals. So you may not get as much on severe weather or as much of the high wind, but you would be in the zone for flash flooding, especially west of 65 and right along the Ohio River. That's the area to watch. This rest of the region in Kentucky, it's mainly going to be some of that warm front, and then most of it will be the midday cold front thunderstorms. So altogether, that could add up to 1 to 2 inches, but your heaviest is going to be in the center path of the low. All right, so here's the summary. And that is the timing again. Rainfall likely in the morning. It's going to be a messy morning commute with the bands of rain in the area. Again, we're not expecting severe weather in the morning. There could be pea-sized hail, heavy rain, a lot of lightning. Yes, but the scenario does not favor anything significant in the morning. It is going to be lunch tomorrow through about 1 to 2 o'clock. We need to watch the radar very carefully. Thank goodness it's not an all-day setup on that threat. It's only a couple of hours, and then we're out of the woods. But even though the rain chance will drop significantly after that threat, remember the wind threat will stay with us all the way through sunset, if not longer. All right, there you go. So what questions, I'll try to backtrack here, and I apologize because I'm sure you got quite a few. Let's see. Ashley, are these, I think hopefully I answered that. Are these long tracked or would they be brief? This is during the day. Well, a couple things there, actually. First off, yes, they are during the day, which is good because more people are more aware of the weather changing fast during the day. Everyone's awake and out and about. The bad side is everyone's out and about. So as long as you are planning ahead, and that's what we're talking about, it's making sure you're aware of this threat and stay close to the Wave Weather app. If we come on tomorrow morning and we're like, you know what? The low has shifted south, or the warm front has lingered and the box formation is not going to be as widespread as what it looked like. The severe threat has now dropped significantly. Surprisingly, the times we've had to say that everything looks better, people get mad at us. I don't know why. They're like, you said there was going to be tornadoes. Yeah, busted the forecast. Why are you happy about that? Or why are you angry about that? You should be happy about that. I hope I can say that. But right now, there's not a strong signal that's going to be the trend. So make sure you just stay close to the forecast changes. We'll keep you updated. I'm going to be back again tomorrow morning. We're going to have everyone likely here tomorrow as well, tracking how this is going to get through. But again, it's going to be very fast, not idea. But hopefully we've already learned a lesson earlier this week about trying to anchor things down in high wind scenarios. So hopefully you had a chance to do that. Yesterday, I was 83, but even today, with being cloudy, it's still not cold outside. You can still get out there and take care of some things, move some limbs around, or whatever you need to do that you've been delaying. Get that taken care of today. Get it out of the way so you don't have to worry about it tomorrow. Otherwise, you'll end up with a kind of a mess coming our way. So, and they will be brief, Ashley. I don't see these being long track. The environment would support a constant formation, a collapsing reformation kind of scenario with these cells tomorrow, which makes them more of a challenge for the warnings to get issued. And it makes them a little more difficult to pick up, but at least it's going to be fast. So it's not going to be an all-day thing. So I hope that helps. Mary, what time should I leave for Georgia tomorrow? You're going to be dealing with rain, no matter really what time you're going to head out, because it's going to be starting to rain at midnight. It just depends on what you're wanting to face. I mean, you're going to be dealing with wind for your journey. Certainly, I'm assuming you're taking I-75 or taking 65 and cutting over to I-24. Either way, you will be having a lot of wind to face, a strong crosswind at times. So just please be careful. But as far as the storm threat portion of that, that's all going to be about the same time for I-65 and really I-75, because it moves so fast that the window, both interstates being impacted, is nearly the same. So roughly 12 to 3. After that point, you'll be basically just in a quieter area as far as rainfall, and maybe dry, in fact, but still a lot of wind. So at the moment, if you want to avoid all the threats, I would say more afternoon than leaving in the morning. I hope that helps. Angela, 85 miles per hour, better be a name attached to it. I hope it's not the case. Trust me, I get it. It's something we don't see a lot, but I don't think we don't want to see anything too bad. So I'm hoping it'll be a minor issue there. Hope it doesn't get too crazy in Fairdale, Dylan. I hope not either. Shonda, higher winds than the one the other day. That's a good question. Yes and no. Mainly because, yes, we had 64 was the gust Monday. Some of these thunderstorms could go stronger, yes, but the gradient wind may rival it, to be honest. I mean, I'm not going to roll out the same kind of speeds we saw on Monday. So in some cases, just to keep it simple with your question, yes, they can be. Allie, will everyone see severe weather tomorrow? Severe thunderstorms? No, not everyone will. Severe wind potential, more people probably would see that in general than severe thunderstorms, if that all makes sense. What's that, Cassie? Should I get my flight changed tomorrow afternoon? We'll see. I don't think at the moment you would need to change. I would just check with your airline to see, but I think the idea is this system is so large. As I mentioned the other day, I think you're going to end up with a lot of backlog from other airports that may very well affect your flight. So I would just check. And if you don't want to deal with that mess, and a lot of us don't, then my suggestion is yes, I would go ahead and make some changes to that. It depends on how confident you are that you'll be able to get to the connecting hubs. I think you're going to Tampa, if I remember right, and also whether or not you're going to be able to get there without being stuck in an airport. All right, guys, I'm going to run for now. I got to go through the midday data. I know a lot of you here, and I know I've covered a lot of detail, and a lot of it, I get it, is scary, I understand, but I want to make sure everyone is understanding, though, that these parameters are not all guarantees. This is just being fully transparent on our setup potential, why we have the alert day out, and what we're going to be watching evolve, and hopefully you'll be staying tuned and staying close to our forecast as well. All right, I'm going to get. You guys have a good rest of the day. I'll be back coming up on midday with another update on the trends and the latest modeling course as we head into your Friday. Have a good day, guys.